I'm on a bit of a quest. And maybe a quest isn't the right word. But I'm on a bit of a revival, maybe. And maybe that's not the right word. But I'm committed to this idea that every one of us can know greater self-value than we've ever known before. And I believe that for us to heal the planet at the level that I think that we could and maybe should heal the planet, we have to leverage our value up. Because when we look at what's going on in the world today, I think it's absolutely a symptom of how much we value ourselves or don't value ourselves. That we can't change families, we can't change relationships, we can't change even the world politics without taking a considerable, maybe even an incredible leap into greater value. And so we're going to begin tonight a process that I'm going to be following up, as you know, on Saturday mornings. But I want us to begin to play with this idea of making a personal commitment to your own value. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is from your current value, you really can't see how much better your life's going to be when you enhance your value. You can have a desire for a greater life, and that's wonderful, right? But as your value begins to leverage up, it impacts your life in ways that you can't even imagine tonight. Because, unfortunately, we can only see life from the point of view of our own value. You can only see relationships from the point of view of your own value. You can only see your work from the point of view of your own value. And as you lift your value higher, as your value goes up, what happens is your point of view becomes different, better, expansive. And so tonight, we're going to begin a process of valuing ourselves more. Now, how many of you were raised in a household where that was a problem? Anybody raised in a household where that if you got too much, too sure of yourself, too confident, somebody was going to come along and knock you down? Any nobody? Yeah? Great. Okay, good. Right? So, and did anybody raised in a religious environment that was pretty clear that you shouldn't value yourself too much? Right? So what I want you to see, right? How much fun is this, right? So for 6,000 years, the predominant religious thought has been, don't get too full of yourself. Right? Because, and the idea was, and I love this, right? But it's crazy, but I loved it, was the idea that the smaller you become, the bigger God looks. Right? That's the idea, right? The smaller they can make you feel, God's going to look big. You know what? The bigger you become, God is still going to be bigger. Right? Only the bigger you become, the more you can appreciate the greatness of God. From our smallness, from our woundedness, from our brokenness, we don't even let God in because we're so frightened, because we feel so bad about ourselves. It's only when we begin to expand out into the fullness of who we are that we can actually lay hold and receive how great our God is. So the question that I have for you tonight is, how valuable are you willing to be? And would you be willing to go one big step past that? Right? Because usually when we talk about value, we talk about all those people who are struggling. You know, they need to work on their value. right? Wherever you are in your life, it is absolutely a symptom of your value. And if your soul is ready for more good, working on your value will change your life. Now, you might have the most wonderful, greatest life that you can imagine and thinking, this is it. No. It's not, right? Because God has greater good for you. But if we don't work on our value, we don't take that next step into that next level of good. And that next level of good is God's promise to you. And I promise that it will show up in ways that you can't even imagine. I'm on this crusade. Right? And I see the impact it has on people's lives because so many of us can't hold our value at the level we want. We diminish ourselves. And it creates problems in our families, in our relationships. It creates problems at work. It creates problems in our finances. It creates problems. When we can't own our own value, we deny the good that God has promised all of us. And every time we take another step in our value, we are more willing to be blessed. Can you believe that? Will you believe that with me? Will you try that on for the next few weeks? Just to see how that works in your life. That for the next few weeks, we're going to work on the idea that I'm a person of great value. I'm an expression of God. Will you say that with me? I'm a person of great value. I am an expression of God. Now, do you expect everyone that you meet in the next few weeks to affirm that back to you, just like that? Well, maybe. Right? Maybe. Maybe you have some wonderful mastermind partner, a wonderful family that's going to affirm for you exactly that over and over again. But whether they do or not, who's responsible for you holding your value in a new way? Right? It has to start with you. I did this experiment, if you will, when I was in Naples. And I had the whole congregation at the time affirming, I'm a person of great value, I'm an expression of God. And it was absolutely amazing to watch people pop open, right? Because what happens when we come to church is our value begins to increase as kind of a side benefit. We hear positive things, we sing positive songs, we entertain positive ideas, and our value begins to expand. But when we get intentional about it, it's amazing. There were so many stories. One of them was just a cute story. Lady was playing tennis. She had this regular tennis league that she played in. And she was playing tennis, and she was getting shellacked. She was getting shellacked. She said, I was playing the worst tennis I was playing in years. And she said, and then I remembered you. Well, I don't know where the story's going, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, right? And she said, and I remember with the affirmation that we did on Sunday, and I remembered, I'm a person of great value. I'm an expression of God. And I thought, it's true. She said, I'm a person of great value. I'm getting shellacked, but I'm a person of great value. I'm an expression of God. And she said, I started playing as a person of great value, as an expression of God. She said it was as if a switch had been turned on. She said, I came back and I actually won that match. Because in the place where I would normally have given my value away, I refused to do it. Can you think of an area in your life where you regularly and routinely give your value away? And what if for the next few weeks you make a conscious decision not to do that? To entertain a new dominant thought. See, one of the things I want you to see is just the idea of holding a new dominant thought changes everything. Doesn't have to get more complicated than that. Just the idea of holding a new dominant thought begins to change your inner conversation. It begins to change your self-talk. And as you decide that you're going to be a person of great value, as you acknowledge that you are an expression of God, your inner life begins to create a brand new, higher expression. Simply because you decide. You decide. The value that you place on you absolutely equals the good that comes into your life. Can I say that again? The value that you place on you equals the good that gets to come into your life. How many of you remember algebra? Anybody remember algebra from high school? I'm crazy, but I loved algebra. I was such a little math geek. I loved algebra. Geometry is different, but algebra, oh my gosh. They put X's and they put, and I love that stuff. You put X's and Y's and plus and minuses, and I love that stuff. But one of the basic aspects of mathematics is that one side of the equation has to equal the other side of the equation. That it's not right unless both sides of the equation equal. That you can't have a right answer where those don't equal. It's the fundamental of mathematics, that one side has to equal the other side. So, by that same principle, the value that you believe about yourself equates to the good that you allow into your life. If you change one side of the equation, guess what happens to the other side of the equation? It has to go up. If one side of the equation becomes more valuable, the other side of the equation has to match it equally at the same proportion. At the same proportion. Now, as your value begins to increase, I promise you that there's going to be a time when your ego says, this is wrong. Who do I think I am? What will other people see if they see me beginning to feel better about myself? What if God notices that I'm actually feeling good about me? As one side of the equation increases, the blessings that come into your life will match it. You know, one of the things that we have been told for centuries are the promises of God. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. All that the Father has is for you. We've been given these promises over and over and over again. But the piece that's missing in the equation is our own value. Change your value, and that equation actually begins to make sense. That in the spot where you should be in the equation, if that value isn't high enough, life will never make sense. I am a person of great value. I am an expression of God. Together. I am a person of great value. I am an